Hello, how are you? And welcome to the time between times, the time when it is neither night nor day, but the sun has gone and the sky is grey. Welcome to the time when the veil between our world and the fairy world grows wafer thin, so thin that just for a few moments we can reach into that realm. For a few moments, they can reach into ours. Now is the time that people see ghosts. Now is the time that people see lights in the sky. Now is the time that people see fairies. Now is the time between times. Hold on, my friends. I think we have some technical issues. Just give me a moment. Please forgive me. Stand by. Technology, eh? It's fantastic, isn't it? When it works. Hello, and welcome to the time between times. If you just stand by for a moment, there are some people trying to get let in. Technical difficulties. Trying to remain calm. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the time between times, the time when it is neither night nor day, but the sun has gone and the sky is grey. The news is very dark these days. The world is a very dark place. Almost feels like everywhere you look, there is bad news. There are bad things going on. But here at the time between times, we know we are safe. What's great about being here now, right now, is it is the time between times. The time when the veil between our world and the fairy world is wafer thin. So thin that for just a few moments we can reach into their realm, and for a few moments they can reach into ours. Now is the time that people see lights in the sky. Now is the time that people see fairies. Now is the time of stories. Now is the time between times. So, my friends, wherever you are, whoever you are, sit back, relax, let your mind clear of worries, and join me here for tales traditionally told. Tonight, the tales may be somewhat dark, but in a dark tale, there are good hearts, and in good hearts, there are good fellowship, and together we shall be here listening to tales. Close your eyes, sit back, relax. Imagine you have walked deep into the heart of the forest. All around you, the trees stretch to the sky, their branches like hooked claws. You know that you are safe here. Far away, you can hear the howl of wolves, you can hear the growl of bears, the baying of hounds. But here, all is quiet, all is well, all is here for the time of stories. You sit on an old log near the fire pit and look around and see the faces of friends all joined together for tales traditionally told. All your cares, your worries, your strife, all vanish and wash away on a tide of tales. My friends, let me tell you about the tale of the time that I went to Plas Mawr in Conwy. Conwy in North Wales is a beautiful town. An old town full of old houses. Small curling streets make their way through towards the sunset. And there at the end of the great high street is a place called Plas Mawr. Big house. Plas Mawr is old and whitewashed with a tower that stretched to the sky. I entered and I looked around. There are great tapestries, small thin corridors, stone flagstone floors. And there on the second floor, as you walk up the staircase, is the lantern room. As I stood outside, I looked up and I could see the lantern shining. It was early morning. The place had just opened. And I saw a shadow looking down at me. I went in, up to the lantern room, felt my feet on the cold flagstone floor, went inside, and it was empty. Totally and utterly empty. There was a bed, a rug on the floor, wood paneling and a fireplace, but nobody. After I'd looked around, I went down the stairs and spoke to the lady who was sat by the door. I said, "Who was that who looked out from the window upstairs?" "You're the first person who's come here today," she said. "But let me tell you something. You're not the first person who has said that to me. You see, Plasmawr was owned by a man called Robert Wynne many, many years ago at the time of the great Queen Elizabeth. Robert Wynne would spend a lot of time in London at her great court and leaving behind his wife, Dorothy, and his small son, Henry. And on this night, this very night, all those hundreds of years ago, Dorothy and Henry had made their way up the flagstone staircase to the top of the tower. For from that place you could see the road that led to London, and they knew that Robert Wynne would be riding back this night. They sat high in the tower as the night became cold. They wrapped coats around themselves and waited to see his light on the road. But they did not see it. And time went on. And Henry was playing with a small wooden horse given to him by his father before he left for London, became agitated and bored, started to pull his mother's hand, tell her that he was hungry. At long last, Dorothy realized that Robert would not be returning, so they started to make their way down the flagstone stairs. And suddenly, Henry dropped the small wooden horse. They stepped once more, and then fate, as it often does, intervened. Henry slipped, and taking his mother's hand, he pulled her. They both fell, 1, 2, 3, down the stairs, turning and twisting, bang, 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 until they landed in a heap on the landing floor. The servants came running. They picked up Dorothy, they picked up Henry, and took them into the bedroom, into the lantern room, and laid them on the bed. The head of the servants was deathly worried, for he could see that their injuries were grave indeed. "I'll go down to the tavern, see if there's a doctor there," he said. And he left Plasmawr, slamming the great oak door behind him. He rushed down the street. He could feel the cold all around him. People were chatting, and he rushed into the Bull Inn at the bottom of the road and called, "Is there a doctor here to help? Is there someone who can help us?" A man stood up by the bar. A young man. He finished his drink and said, I am a doctor. My name is Dr. Jenkins. I can help." He followed the head servant back to Plasmawr. Into the door he went, up the stairs to the lantern room, and there, laying on the bed, were Dorothy and Henry, twisted and broken by the fall. The doctor took one look and turned to the servant and said, "These are grave wounds indeed. There's no way that I can help you here. I must go." The servant was afeard the master would return. He was terrified for the life of his mistress. And he told the doctor, "Remain within. You will not come out until they are well." And he closed the door and bolted it hard. The doctor hammered to be released, but they would not let him. The night grew darker and longer. And then in the morning, at the time between times, the time when it was neither night nor day, but the sun had gone and the sky was grey, Robert Wynne returned. He opened the great oak door and called for his love and his son, but saw only sobbing servants. He made his way up to the lantern room, and taking the key from the servant, he unlocked the great oak door, stepped inside, and there on the bed were his wife and his son, their necks broken by a fall. He wept. He wept until his eyes were dry. He wept until he could weep no more. Of the doctor, there was no sign. The window was still barred. 2 days later, Robert Wynne died of a broken heart, and all 3 of the family were buried in the churchyard. Plasmawr fell out of use by the Wynne family, moved into public use many years later. But it is said that when you least expect it, visitors to the place have looked up to that window, and there they see Robert Wynne peering out, looking for a doctor who would never come, looking for help, maybe looking for his wife and child, nobody knows. Out of the corner of your eye, sometimes in the corridors, people have seen him, wandering in sadness up and down the corridor, weeping. But worst of all, in the lantern room, a disembodied voice is often heard. Let me out. Let me out. Let me out. For years after the fateful night, when renovations were being done, the body of the doctor was found there in the fireplace, locked in the chimney, trapped where he tried to escape all those years before. Plasmawr is a haunted place, my friends. It is a dark place, but it is a fantastic place. A place where the ages gone by mingle with the modern world of today. A place where shades of the past are often seen out of the corner of our eyes. A place where you can come face to face with someone who once walked those halls. Whether they acknowledge you or not, they are there. And that, my friends, is the tale of the ghosts of Plasmawr. I told you it was a dark tale, didn't I? Oh, Danielle is here. Hi, Danielle. How are you? Thank you for joining us. And sorry very much for the technical difficulties at the start, guys. I mean, I was trying my best. I'm still new to this live streaming thing. If anyone's interested, and I'd be very, very grateful, I've put a link to my Ko-fi page there. Oh, Marcel. Gute Nacht, Marcel. Thank you for joining us as well. If anyone is interested, I have put a link to my Ko-fi page there. Any donations would be gratefully received. Here I am telling tales of a night, telling tales like a busker long ago, a travelling teller of tales would move from village to village. Let's have a drink of water. It was squash last time, but I'd run out of squash. So to make up for it, we have a small glass of whiskey, which is very nice. Danielle, Marcel, and the others who have gathered. Let us tell a bit of a happier tale. Let us tell a tale that is Welsh to its very core. Not long ago, only last week or 2 weeks ago, it was St. David's Day, the patron saint of Wales, Dewi Sant, the man who said, do the little things. Because when you do the little things, that's when magic happens. Those little things, those kind words that you tell someone, that support you give someone, that little bit of help that people need in dark times. Dewi Sant knew what he was talking about. Yes. So let's tell a tale about the birth of Wales. Let's tell a tale that happened in the dark reaches of the darkest valleys of North Wales. Let us tell a tale about the dragons of Dinas Emrys. Many years ago, the Saxons had come from Britain, brought in from the east as mercenaries and raiders. They settled and pushed the Welsh people far into the west, where they lived in smaller and smaller kingdoms. At this time, this dark time, a place they say was so dark that even when the sun shined, it only did so for an hour a day. The small kingdom of Cymru was ruled over by a man called Vortigern. He was big, he was strong, he had a great black beard, and he spoke in the loudest of voices. But he had seen his kingdom evaporate, go smaller and smaller, until this place in Dinas Emrys, they made their camp. And Vortigern slept, knowing that this night could be the last night of Cymru, knowing that this night his kingdom might fall. But he had a dream in his heart, and that dream was to build a fort, a great castle that stretched to the sky here in Dinas Emrys. He looked around at the mountains that reached up and cast dark shadows everywhere they looked. But he called his people together, and he said, my friends, let us do one thing, and let us do that one thing tonight. Let us build a fort. stone upon stone, wood upon wood, thatch upon thatch, until we have the greatest castle that Wales had ever seen. And so his people did. They marched out. They got everything they could from the mountains and started to build a great castle. And they did it, stone upon stone, wood upon wood, thatch upon thatch, until at the end of the day, at the time between times, the sun was shining along with the moon. And there at Dinas Emrys was the greatest castle anyone had ever seen. Yes! Yes! Look at this! Cried Vortigern. Here, my kingdom will make it stand. Here, we will always defeat our enemies. Here, I shall be king. And he went to bed, he went to sleep. And then strange things started to happen. As night fell and Vortigern slept, the ground started to shake. Softly at first, but growing more violent, until in the end the whole ground shook, the mountains shook. It seemed like the sky itself shook, and Vortigern sat up. What's going on? What's going on? He rushed out of his castle, out of his tent, and looked around. And then came the greatest roar, as the castle fell down into bits and smithereens onto the ground. No! No! What's happened here? No! All Vortigern's people gathered to see this solemn event as the castle had fallen to the ground. But Vortigern would not give up. And that next day they rebuilt the castle, stone upon stone, wood upon wood, brick upon brick, thatch upon thatch, until it had once again be the finest castle anyone had ever seen. But again, believe it or not, the same thing happened. A low rumbling, getting louder and louder, until eventually the castle fell down again. A third night, the same thing. Once again. Vortigern was in despair. He did not know what to think, what to do. But then he had a thought. Down by the river, there is a young boy with green hair. It is said that he can tell the future, that he knows of things that will happen before they do. I will go and see him, and I will ask him what he thinks of this. He went down to the river, and sure enough, there, fishing amongst the reeds, was the boy with bright green hair. My boy, do you know? I know exactly what will happen, said the boy. Come with me, my king, and I will show you what causes the castle to fall. The boy led Vortigern to the mountains, and there to a small cave, a cave so dark that when he put in his hand, it vanished in front of his face. Come with me. Follow me, he cried. The boy stepped into the cave. Vortigern stepped in after him. Pitch black, total darkness. Down and to the left they went, back and to the right, deeper and deeper into the heart of the mountains, until they came to a great cavern deep underground. There was a waterfall that fell from the roof of the cavern to a great pool of water. Vortigern went to rush forward, but the boy said, No, stay behind the rock, my lord. Stay behind the rock. Why? Look over there. The boy pointed to the corner, and there in the corner of the room was a small wooden chest. The boy pointed to the other corner, and sure enough, there, in the other corner of the room, was another small wooden chest. But what does this mean? Said Vortigern. Watch, said the boy. Watch, my lord, look. As Vortigern watched, the chest opened with a creak, and out came a scaly white hand that click-clacked on the stone floor. Pulling itself out of the box came a huge, massive, mighty white dragon. It roared a roar that shook the very under-earth, and then reached up and flew to the sky. Vortigern hid behind the rock. The boy held him tight, and the dragon circled them, flying round and round and round above. "Look, what's that?" "Shh," said the boy, "look." And there in the other corner of the room, a small chest opened, and out of that chest came a scaly red hand that click-clacked there upon the stone floor, and pulling itself out of the box came a huge, massive, gigantic red dragon. It opened its mouth and roared, and flames shot out, burning and singeing Vortigern's hair. "No, what's going on?" The dragon pulled itself out, pulled up and two, and started to fly round and round and round. The white dragon flew round and round. The red dragon flew round and round until they met in the centre with a crash that shook the very earth. The rocks fell tumbling down. The water sprayed everywhere. The white dragon opened its mouth and shot jets of pure ice. The red dragon shot fire, and they battled here deep beneath the earth. "This, my lord, said the boy, "this is why your castle falls down. These two dragons will battle here deep beneath the earth until one day, the red dragon will triumph over the white dragon, and the red dragon will be lords in their own land once more." "But what shall I do?" said Vortigern. "What you should do is make a flag with a white sky, a green floor, and a red dragon with its claw raised in triumph, and carry that flag in front of your armies. Place it on the church, on the schools, on all your buildings. And the people of Wales will be happy once more." "But how do you know all this?" "Well, that would be telling," said the boy. "But my name is Merlin, and well, you'll come across me once more, I'm sure." And with that, Merlin and Vortigern ran from the cave out into Dinas Emrys once more. And Vortigern did exactly what Merlin suggested, and made a banner with a green floor, a white sky, and a red dragon with its claw raised in triumph. And he carried that in front of his armies. And the red dragon became the Dragon of Wales, a Draegoch, the flag of Wales. Oh, and Vortigern, he did build his castle, just not in Dinas Emrys, for that was a crazy place to build it. But there we go, my friends. That is the great tale of the Dragons of Dinas Emrys. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much. Oh, the whiskey is calling. Some friends of mine bought me this a few weeks ago. Hague Club. It's very nice. Ooh, very nice indeed. Need some water though. Should have had some ice, but I'm out of ice. Should have had some ice from the white dragon, shouldn't I, really? My friends, thank you. You are most welcome here at the Time Between Times. And know always that the Time Between Times is a safe place. It's a place where we can join as friends and listen to tales traditionally told. It's a place we can gather where the horrible thoughts of the outside world leave us behind as we relax. So just take a moment. Take a moment to just clear your mind of everything that's bothering you. Clear your mind. So all you have in there is your imagination. Because your imagination is an amazing thing. It can heal. It can help you be positive. You get the best out of yourself when you are creative. So, my friends, well, it's a night of Welsh tales. So let's have one of the saddest ones. But I will tell it to you, because this tale is famous the world over. It is a dreadfully sad tale, but a tale that inspires. And I have been to the place where this tale has happened, like I have been to Dinas Emrys, and it is truly a magical one. Let us go back almost 1,000 years. Let us go back to the middle of Wales, where all around are mountains, hills, and forests. And let us go back to the time when Llywelyn Mawr was king of all Wales. People say he was the wisest, the strongest, the greatest warrior that the Wales had ever seen. The people of Cymru all looked up to him. His sword was so big that only he could carry it. He wore his armour with pride, and all his followers would follow him to their doom if they had to. For Llywelyn Mawr was king of all Cymru. But his heart was broken, you see. Years earlier, he had married a lady called Eleanor. She had come from across the sea on a boat from France, her hair flowing long and blonde. She stepped out of the boat onto the beach, and Llywelyn took one look at her and fell instantly in love. There they were married. It was there that they came forth as king and queen, and it was there that Llywelyn was truly happy. But happiness, like it often does, is fleeting. And Eleanor died in childbirth, giving birth to Llywelyn's daughter, Gwenllian. She was the most beautiful babe anyone had ever seen. Her eyes were like stars. And although Llywelyn's heart was broken for the loss of Eleanor, he knew joy when he looked into the eyes of his daughter. And he was not entirely alone, for he had with him his great hound, Gelert. Gelert was the greatest hound who ever walked the hills of Wales. He was so big that some people thought he was some sort of monstrous beast, but inside this great hound, there beat the heart of a lamb. It was said that in battle he could bite the head off an enemy warrior, but Llywelyn loved him. Everywhere he went, Gelert came with him. When Llywelyn slept, Gelert sat at the foot of the bed. When Llywelyn ate, Gelert would sit under the table. Where Llywelyn walked, Gelert would walk alongside him in lockstep. They were the greatest of friends. And now this night of all nights, they were sat deep in the heart of Wales, and the enemy was not far away. The baby Gwenllian in his hands. Llywelyn put her down in her crib and kissed her goodnight, patted Gelert on the head and said, "Gelert, tomorrow we will hunt. Tomorrow we will see to our people and make sure they are wise. But in the meantime, sleep, my greatest friend. Sleep well." Llywelyn lay down and fell asleep, and Gelert was next to him. But in the darkest heart of the night, one of Llywelyn's messengers ran into the tent with a cry, my lord, the enemy are upon us. To arms, my lord, to arms!" A surprise attack by Llywelyn's enemies caused him to jump up, place on his armour, grab his shield, grab his sword. "Come, Gelert, we must fight a battle this night where we least..." Gelert, although I need you in this battle, there is no one to look after the baby Gwenllian. Please, my greatest friend, as I fight a battle, please will you look after my daughter?" With that he was gone. The clash of arms could be heard far away as Llywelyn rode with his knights to do battle. And the night became blood-splattered but full of victory. Yes! Yes! I have won a war! I have won a battle! I am victorious! But then he saw something he didn't expect. All the tapestries had been pulled to the ground. His bedclothes were ripped and torn. He could see blood splattered on them. The baby's crib had toppled to the floor and blood could be seen on the blankets. Llewellyn, at his hour of his greatest triumph, knew the ultimate defeat. While he had been out doing battle with his enemies, it seems that Gelert had slain that which he loved the most. The great hound stepped around from beyond the bed, blood caking its mouth, as it stepped towards its lord and lowered its head in supplication. Llewellyn's anger knew no bounds. He reached with his sword, and there, at that centre, at that very moment, his life changed as he brought it down with a bang and killed Gelert. In that spot, in that time, the great hound fell to the ground, dead. Llewellyn fell to his knees, cradling the hound that he loved, but knowing that. But then something happened he did not expect. He heard the sobbing of a babe, the crying of a baby. He looked around, lifted the bedclothes, and there, safe and unharmed, he found the baby Gwenllian. Confused, he looked around. The babe was fine, and then he saw it underneath the bed. The leg of a giant wolf. Llewellyn pulled at it, and out it came. And there was a wolf slain with the bite of a giant hound. And then realization struck the prince. Realization of what had happened here at this tent while he was doing battle. Another battle had happened here. For when he was gone, a great wolf had stepped under the tent, attracted by the smell of the baby. It was there that Gelert rose up, and a great battle occurred there in the tent, hound upon wolf, until Gelert won by. But now, Llewellyn had killed Gelert in his haste. And although his daughter was safe, his greatest companion had fallen. He cradled Gelert in his arms and carried the beast to the shadow of a great mountain. And there he buried him in a place now called Bedd Gelert, Gelert's grave. It is said that Llewellyn never smiled again, that he always kept the memory of Gelert in his heart, and that is why Gelert has always been seen as a symbol of loyalty, of victory, of courage. And not long after, Llewellyn was killed in an ambush, and the line of Welsh princes was no more. But the story of Gelert has been passed down from father to son, mother to daughter, until on this night, at the time between times, the time when it is neither night nor day, but the sun is gone and the sky is grey, I have told it to you. So, my friends, although it may be a sad tale, it is also a great tale. And from those sad tales, those dark times, greatness happens. It's like when Frodo was carrying the ring and he turned to Gandalf and he said, "I wish the ring had never come to me." And Gandalf turns to him and says, "So do all who live to see such times. But it's what they do with it that counts." My friends, diolch o galon. Thank you for joining me here tonight at the time between times for tales traditionally told. If you don't know and you've just stumbled across this by some random accident, I have a channel that I upload a video every week. It would make my day if you would subscribe to that channel. It's called Time Between Times Storytelling. I also release a podcast called Time Between Times Podcast. And if you would subscribe to that, it would really, really help me and bring a smile to my face. I have also pinned my Ko-fi link there in the chat. So anyone who wishes to buy me a coffee, it would be very, very much appreciated. My friends, our numbers are few, but that's probably my fault with the technical issues. But I have so much enjoyed sitting here and telling you tales. I feel, even though we might be miles apart, that we are all part of one great fire pit where we can sit and tell tales amongst friends, knowing that we are happy and safe, and knowing that just for a few moments, our imagination has run wild. Diolch yn fawr, my friends. Thank you very, very much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate your help. I really appreciate your support. And I will do another one of these very soon. And hopefully I will get it right that time. But you can always say, you were one of the few, we happy few, who really enjoyed and spoke together this night. Danielle, diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much for those lovely comments. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you joining me here. I know you're far away, and I know that the time is a strange time for you, but you are always welcome here. And again, come and visit Wales, for there is no better place. It's a land of song, of myth, of adventure. And all these places and more can be found. You can walk the lonely corridors of Plas Mawr. You can sit in the desolate valley of Dinas Emrys. And you can visit Bedd Gelert, Gelert's grave. For that is a place of wonder and ghosts, and tales for another time. My friends, diolch yn fawr. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Oh, say something, it says, I shall. Thank you. Look at me, one finger typing. I'm just going to sit back, enjoy, relax, finish off my whiskey, and think of another tale that I can tell at another time. Thank you, my friends. Thank you very, very much. Nos da. Good night. Thank you, Marcel. Dankeschön for joining me. Such a great supporter, great help, and a provider of many tales from Europe, which I would never have come across if not for Marcel and his lovely wife, Jagoda. I will see you in the summer, Marcel. Looking forward to it very much. Take care. Nos da. Good night. Bye-bye.